Let me start by saying something that might surprise you. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a health risk. And for people over 70, it can be just as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not a guess, that's what studies from top medical schools and public health agencies have found. And yet, it's one of the most ignored health issues facing older adults today. We talk a lot about blood pressure, heart disease, arthritis, and memory loss. But very few people talk about the ache of waking up and not having anyone to talk to, the long, quiet days when no one calls, the meals eaten alone, the birthdays where no one knocks on the door. And here's the truth. Loneliness after 70 doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it just looks like silence, a slower walk, less interest in cooking, fewer reasons to get out of the house, a fading sparkle in the eye. I've worked with older adults for years as a health educator, counselor, and friend. And what I've learned is this: when people are lonely, their bodies know it. Their immune systems get weaker. Their hearts work harder. Their sleep gets worse. Their minds start to fog. And before long, their overall health begins to decline, not because of any disease, but because of disconnection. So today, let's talk about it, honestly, openly, like friends. We're going to look at how loneliness impacts your health after 70, why it often goes unnoticed, and most importantly, what you can do to overcome it. Because beating loneliness doesn't require a full calendar or a house full of visitors. It requires a shift in how we connect, how we see ourselves, and how we find meaning sometimes in the smallest, most beautiful places. Let's start with understanding what loneliness really does to your body and brain. When people think of loneliness, they often think of emotions feeling sad, isolated, or forgotten. But medically speaking, loneliness triggers real physical changes in the body, especially after the age of 70. Here's what happens. When you feel chronically lonely, your brain activates the same survival systems as it does during stress. It tells your body, something's not right. We're not safe. And this causes a release of stress hormones like cortisol, which over time wear down the immune system and raise inflammation throughout the body. And inflammation is a key driver in almost every major illness that affects older adults: heart disease, stroke, dementia, even cancer. So when your body is in a constant low-level stress state because of loneliness, it becomes more vulnerable to illness. There's also the issue of motivation. People who feel disconnected are less likely to move their bodies, eat well, or keep medical appointments. They're more likely to let things slide, not because they're lazy, but because there's no one around encouraging them or reminding them that they matter. Studies have even shown that loneliness increases the risk of developing dementia. It affects memory, decision-making, and attention span. That foggy-headed feeling, that sense that time is just drifting by. That's your brain struggling with a lack of social input, and sleep loneliness disrupts it deeply. Older adults who feel lonely are more likely to suffer from insomnia, wake up more often at night, and experience less deep, restorative sleep. So no, it's not just in your head, it's in your body. And if you've been feeling more isolated lately, you are not weak, you are human. And you are responding to a basic human need for connection. But here's the good news. Even small changes can reverse this trend. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Now that we understand just how deeply loneliness can affect your health, let's talk about something even more important: what you can do about it. The truth is, you don't need to be surrounded by people 24/7 to feel connected. What really matters is meaningful connection, the kind that makes you feel seen, heard, and valued. And that kind of connection can come in many different forms. Let's explore a few steps that have helped many older adults I've worked with, and they might just help you too. 1. Reconnect with one person. Just one sometimes. We make the mistake of thinking we need a big social life to beat loneliness, but the research tells us something else. Quality matters more than quantity. You don't need 10 close friends. You need one real conversation. Start simple. Is there someone you haven't spoken to in a while? A sibling, a cousin, a neighbor, or even an old friend from work or school? Reach out, write a short message, pick up the phone, even if you haven't spoken in years. Especially if you haven't spoken in years, it's never too late. You'd be surprised how many people are waiting for someone else to make the first move. And once the door opens, you might find a connection that warms your heart in ways you forgot were possible. 2. Volunteer or offer to help, even in small ways. One of the fastest ways to dissolve loneliness is to feel useful again. When you give your time, your wisdom, or your care to others, something incredible happens. You stop feeling invisible. You don't have to join a big organization. You can start small. Offer to watch a neighbor's dog. Read to children at the local library. Knit or sew for a local hospital. Deliver food for a community group. Simply ask, can I help when someone looks like they need a hand? The act of giving puts you back into the current of life. It reminds you that you have value, that you are still needed. And that simple shift from being alone to being involved can completely transform your spirit. 3. Join a group that meets regularly in person or online. One of the blessings of modern life is that connection doesn't have to mean being in the same room anymore. There are online support groups, book clubs, religious gatherings, and wellness classes made just for seniors, many of them free or low cost. If you're not sure where to start, try your local community center or senior center. They often host weekly meetups, game nights, or coffee mornings designed specifically for people over 60. You don't have to go every week. Just try it once. Sometimes all it takes is one shared laugh over a card game to remind you that you're not alone. And if you prefer online communities, there are senior forums, Facebook groups, and even Zoom events that bring people together across the country to share stories, support, and simple companionship. Sometimes, the deepest loneliness doesn't come from the absence of people, it comes from the absence of purpose. After retirement, or after the loss of a spouse, many people wake up and wonder, what now? Purpose isn't about being busy. It's about doing something that matters to you. That might mean starting a small garden, writing down your life stories for your grandchildren, learning to paint, draw, or make music, practicing meditation or reading spiritual texts, taking care of a pet, being a source of wisdom for someone younger. Whatever brings meaning to your day, hold on to it. Make it a ritual. When you have something to look forward to, something to grow, something to love or nurture, loneliness loses its grip. Even something as small as caring for a houseplant or feeding the birds every morning can give your day structure and soul, because in those quiet moments, you are not just passing time, you are participating in life. Now, let's speak honestly about something that many people over 70 carry quietly: grief. Grief isn't just about the loss of a loved one. It can be about the loss of health, the loss of routine, the loss of roles you once held in life, like being a parent to young children, or working a job you once loved. These changes leave spaces in your life that can feel empty, and that emptiness, that's often where loneliness settles in. But here's something I want to say. Gently, loneliness is not a personal failure. It's not a weakness. It's not something to feel ashamed about. It's a signal, just like pain is a signal. It tells you that you were meant to connect, to love, to be part of something bigger than yourself. So what do we do with that grief? That ache of emptiness? We acknowledge it. We stop pretending it's not there. We speak it out loud to a friend, a counselor, a journal, a prayer, and when we name it, we start to loosen its hold. One of the strongest, bravest things you can do is admit, I feel lonely, and then take the small step of reaching out anyway. Healing starts not from fixing the past, but from creating small moments of connection in the present. Let me leave you with this. If you are over 70 and you've been feeling more alone lately, know that you're not the only one. In fact, you're part of a quiet majority. And yet, loneliness doesn't have to be your story. There is still time to build new friendships, to deepen the ones you already have, to reach out to a neighbor, to rediscover what brings you joy, to start over, even at 75 or 85, because connection isn't just for the young, it's for the living. And you, my friend, are still very much alive. Start small, one phone call, one walk, one smile across the fence, one yes to a new invitation. Over time, these tiny connections grow, and suddenly, the silence lifts. If this message spoke to you, I hope you'll do two things. First, share this video with someone else who might be feeling the same way. You never know whose heart you might touch. Second, consider subscribing to this channel. Every week, we explore ways to live more fully, stay healthy longer, and grow wiser with age together. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel that we matter. And you do. You absolutely do. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of your heart and reach out when you can. Life still has so much to offer you, and your story is far from over.